Okay, here I am. I'll tell you, the bandits of time. In a Dharma teaching, a monastery monk, Abante, was talking about bandits that go around kind of slicing people up energetically. Now, for those of you that have seen videos, and I'm talking about years ago now, where they would show these videos energetically and how there are those that rob you of your energy. Some don't know what it is they're doing. So you truly have to forgive. I mean, this comes to something that came up at the monastery in my conversation with some others. And there are people in need. And at the same time, we have to see the brilliance in them, the perseverance in them. Not to bear judgment and see the light they are. Because I'll tell you something right now. There is what they call a dark force. And now, I'm not supposed to talk about these things because it may fear-monger people. But you know what? I know that there's been other teachers that have awakened people to the awakening of truth regarding angels, demons, you name it. There is those of light, and they know they're of light because they have a consciousness. They go through remorse, they go through guilt, they go through, shame. They go through all these experiences through pain and suffering. There are some people that just keep persevering. They may not see the light they are within them. And so they can be part of like a dark force. Some not getting the clairvoyance or like getting the clarity, of what it is they're getting into, how they can be trapped. So they have to use their consciousness. They have to be able to use discernment. So, for example, let us not bear judgment on those who have been labeled with mental health concerns. Or even if people have things going on with them physically. And so, there's been people that have been hospitalized for different reasons, whether it's for physical or mental. May they be free of physical and mental pain is what is said in love and kindness prayer chant. However you receive is okay with me in the way you perceive. And so just be aware that when you are sharing something with someone, ask permission. I mean, don't get me wrong. You can experience something with someone else, and then it's kind of like I have, when it comes to personal health information, I have tested for years and years and years, many years back, especially working the line of work that I did in frontline. And so when it comes down to people sharing things and people knowing things, Spirit will, your divinance team will bring things forward, and you'll be like, oh, that makes sense. That clicks. That makes sense how this is all coming together. And we have to err on caution. A monastery monk in Sedona that once was ordained, that's a healer, told me, don't say anything bad about anyone. And it's so true what he says. Now, I know that had me spiritually bypassing for a while and not really looking deep within my own pain and suffering, what was going on for me. And that was a process. I was doing a pretty good job of it to begin with, but there are times where we're constantly tested. And I mean constantly tested by Spirit. Spirit can do things where people will come out and they'll channel something or they'll say something, and then they stop themselves because they know they're going, oh my. I remember this beautiful girl, Crystal, okay? I was at it was like a day retreat. It was a smudge ceremony, and there was also a sweat. And I remember she has now crossed, and I believe, taken a little too early from us all. She's very gifted. And I remember being in a sweat with her, and I remember her and another communicating, and the communication lines opened up, and I'm the type, the mystic Buddhist I am, caution, no regard, no intent, no jealousy, it's all toxicity, not in the way of love and kindness, right? Be a love and kindness. Not saying she wasn't, but I do remember her catching herself, and I know what that's like. She's her own unique seed, her own unique soul, and what is, even though soulfully we're all coming together in this 2026, one, and one is all it is. And so those that don't realize it, 2026, you add the numbers up, it's 10. 1 plus 0 is, right? 1. And so people resonate with all these different numbers, resonating with 1. They'll add up numbers and the time on the clock, using numerology, and then they have validation. Okay, yep, I'm on the right path. I'm on the tracks. I am meant to be exactly as it is. So just be with what is. Even if it's a situation where you're like, whoa, okay, do I sit in it? Do I walk away? What am I to do moving forward? And so even last night, speaking of someone with a history of mental health, and I'm like, okay, let's not discuss that. And I didn't get the chance to come out and say it in a different way, in the way of what I normally would say, is that is their experience, theirs to share and tell with whomever they may. So back to what I was saying earlier, asking permission, especially if you want to make a recommendation to someone else. But don't get me wrong, we were in a trusted 3, a group of 3, and I know what I was putting out, some people were definitely taking in. And this is just the collective. Now I know that there's more than what meets the eye. I know what it was like years ago, connecting divinely, hearing one of the monks. But the greatest gift I got was, I remember I was at the stupa, and this was many years ago now, when the stupa was just built at 2610 St. Mary's. There was like a pad of cement, and the monastery monks would pray on that. I would sit there for hours and hours, paying homage to Buddha, doing the love and kindness. I remember saying to myself, I'm going to remember that love and kindness prayer, because that means a lot. And I sit there for hours, and then I would simulate here on the frequency lines 2 of the members, the lay people. And I remember one of the Bhante saying, cut it out, like kind of reprimanding them, because this was my sacred time at the stupa. And even though I knew things were going on, and I would see the joy in the monastery, and I would see all these monks come and go, and one of the monks, he likes to be connected with the earth, and it's understandably so. I think it's because he gets to have a break away from those bandits. I remember being outside and him running outside and say, here, have some candy. I was fasting, and I was mindfully walking, and I could hear, and I'm reminded now of the voices that were taunting me. They were kind of like, let me transcend through her because she hasn't eaten today, and I can be skinny, like real strange stuff. Either way, in so many words, some people get trapped when they first awaken. They hear things, and this is not schizophrenia. This is people with psychic abilities. And so they'll hear things that others may hear. They see things that others may see, and they may be able to confirm. Like myself, I've been in a store out in the country. The owner was there. This person came out who was a trickster from the bathroom. I didn't know at the time, and I soon learned after for sure, and definitely have nothing to do with this person. And this person was kind of hijacked. You know, we orchestrate within our own hearts the freedom to move forward and make good choices for ourselves. Some people can get tricked when there is communication coming through. This could be either earthbound spirits, or it even can be human beings that are of the dark or the light, that do sorcery work, witchcraft, Wicca, I mean, everything, Buddhism, you name it. And so what happened was this person and I were across from each other, and I felt spirit. And I'm like, did you see that? She goes, oh yeah. And like she could see that we both were light. This person wasn't at the time. This person was Jehovah and lied and said he was a Christian Buddhist. And so maybe he was transitioning, but at the same time, it's rather odd. Especially odd when I knew him at the time. I knew him at the time when this letter arrived in my mailbox from a person that was Jehovah's Witness. And it didn't register to me at the time, but it does now, as to what to do with it. And so there are those in the universe, like I said, that are bandits of time. They will time jump. They'll have time skip. They'll do things in playing in a trickery way. And they know this to be true because, for example, I've been at the church and I've been drumming a sacred song with others. And all of a sudden, minutes later, it's like as if a recording was made and others are listening to it. I never invited anybody into the church. I don't do that. I have been back in the day where I remember seeing something saying, oh, cool, and inviting in a couple of people subliminally that were kind of there. And if you are communicating with famous people, be cautious. And when I say famous people, this could be of any walk of life. They're busy. We're talking on a hierarchy level of spiritualism, Buddhism, whatever it may be. Some may have your best interest at heart, some not. It's interesting how communication comes our way and how we can be cast out. Some say guarded out. I say thank you when those opportunities come up. And you don't realize it right at the moment. You're like, what the? Am I really? What? There's an initiation going on and I'm warned by the Reverend, and then I'm like, alrighty then, no thank you. And of course the cards came out. If you look at some of my past videos in the past week, initiation. So everybody is like, they don't use the word we're trying to find our tribe anymore. This is beyond this. This is looking back 9 years, 7 years, and seeing that there are those that were doing things for initiation. And I'm talking about torturing people, having people captured in their house like a bird in a cage or a person in a box. And what they were doing is they were trying to access every bit of information and knowledge. I know what happened to me. I was an enlightened being. I was very devoted to my work. And I remember back even in 2018 going through horrendous pain and suffering. Who would have thought it was initiation of people downwinding stuff that didn't want to face? Monastery monks know this. I have witnessed years ago where before seeing monks transition with one another because they were there to help protect one another, and they were able to do so. Well, human beings do it as well. They do it not righteously, though. They hijack people. Some people may feel it and know it. They're not them, they're not themselves. Those that are not awakened to the awakening do not understand this. Those that are do. It's like you feel like as if there's somebody that just sits in your body and now they're talking internally. That is not your guide. I'll tell you that right now as a conduit. That is not your higher self. That is somebody doing sorcery work, black magic, trying to hijack your body. They could be trapped in their home themselves, learning stuff, knowing what it's like to, walk, they call walk-ins. It's like a possession. If you know what somebody being possessed is all about. Now, if somebody's under the influence of drugs and alcohol, it can even be worse. It all depends on the collective. You see, there are people in the universe trying to be part of all these groups under all these different umbrellas to save themselves. There are those like myself and others that are catalysts for change, where they may look at us as being rebellions because I am a sacred being, I'm a sovereign being, I'm a miracle, and so is everyone else living a life experience. And so caution in using discernment. I mean, your destiny, your choice, your journey. And so you may find yourself belonging to a church, and then you're frequently going to this church, and then all of a sudden you're hearing the people you're surrounded with in the universe, and you're like, okay, this is odd. Just know that sometimes earthbound spirits will play trickery in that manner as well. And you can ask the person, okay, this is really weird, but last night, were you meditating? Were you channeled on? Like, were you talking about this subject? If they say no, they could have been in the future or the past, and at that moment they don't remember, because there could be trickery also blocking them from the remembrance of certain things. I would go to the monastery, I would send out healing. Like, I remember this beautiful relic tower celebration where an enlightened monk's remains came in, and this beautiful ceremony I got to witness. It was beautiful. I remember though how painful it was, because I literally sent healing in energy, and I didn't know that I showed up. I didn't know I was supposed to dress in black and white or all white as a woman. Everybody was dressed in white, the women, except for the odd person had white shirts and black pants. And so the dress had swirls on it like this. I wish I still had the dress. And this is chakra. It's like a symbol, except it's a little bit different. It doesn't have, I see it as like a chakra symbol. It's known as something different. But at the same time, this symbol was shown to me with some other stuff to make it for animals, and it's more like a Lightarian Reiki symbol for animals. And I don't even think the person that created Lightarian Reiki realizes. And so that was from the angelical presence that I called the glorious angels. And so I've been calling them that for quite some time. When I got into, integrated energy therapy back in 2019. And so either way, I remember saying to the integrated energy therapy angels back in 2019 in the summer, and saying, oh, well, all of you angels are going to have to teach the other angels what it is you're doing, and stuff like that, right? It was like they were my friends, and they still are. And I don't live in an imaginary world. Some people would say, oh, this is reality and non-reality, and you have the miracles I've had, and you've had the pain and suffering I had. Trust me, anything is possible. as I look through my eyes, I'm like, I don't care what's on my counter, but it seems like something is trying to have me as a conduit and wanting, I'm a trans medium as well. And it was comical last night. I was doing some automatic writing and I was frustrated because I was just like, Spirit, I want to know the gossip of he, she, the, they, it. However, I didn't want to know all of that. What I wanted to know is how I can shed what no longer serves me and talk about sensitive subjects that came up in spirituality, and how when you go see a healer, you have to air caution as well. When you leave, you shouldn't be, pardon me, I don't like using the word shouldn't be. If for some reason you're on a healing table and you're puking and you're having a bowel movement or you're urinating, and then you get off the table and you feel like a big gaping hole in you, just know that's not energy healing. It's different if you're releasing something, you have to go pee, or you have an accident in your pants. That's happened. But at the same time, in reality, it's not healing in a love and kindness way. Anybody tries to program you that, to think this to be true, it's not. That would be sorcerers, dark magic, invading the healing session. I have had magnificent healers and mediums that were before me, and I had done a session. And I didn't know it at the time, and now I'm getting an epiphany. This warlock, this person came in my life and did the ill regard, ill intent things he did to me. He was downstairs when I was getting my session upstairs, and it makes sense now. This woman came in my session and hijacked me. And I kept on telling the medium, and next time I see her, I'm going to share that with her. I kept saying, I'm not me, I'm not myself. It's like as if somebody walked in a room, closed the door, obviously was accessing my Ashtak records in the now. Walked in and didn't say a word. And I kept on saying, it's not me. I'm not myself. This is not me. I kept saying that to her. And I started crying, and it was like, I wonder if the person that walked in was shamed because she knew what she was doing was against their universal laws and very shameful thing to do, was not of love and light, maybe was getting entrapped in something. And it could have been with that warlock that was downstairs in my home that invaded my privacy, stole things from me. I had to literally change my logs. And I knew this person on and off for almost 3 years. He ended up with cancer. I was there to support him on his journey, and I had to walk away, finding out truth. And I won't get into all that. But the point being is you have to use discernment and really caution and be careful. So this woman was sending a healing energy and everything. Like, at first, the first meeting I had with her, the very first one, it went well. That's how I knew the difference, is something was wrong. So the very first session I went, it was great. She says, you have all your clairs. I see, oh no, the second one, pardon me. The first one I seen, it was a beautiful message. It was at an event, and she did a beautiful job with all those people. There was even more protection. So she did a great job. The second time, she did a great job. The third time, she did a great job, but the person that walked in, it's not the reader's fault. I didn't invite them in. This warlock put a mask on my face at one point. In my automatic rating, said was a twin flame, playing like, and being played, puppeteered and being puppeteered. It's like when I say you're being watched, but others are watching you, which are being watched, and so on and so on. This stuff is real. This is underworld stuff that people won't talk about. And I'm coming forward. I have been in fear of disappearing. I've taken videos, old videos that I had, and had taken them off my YouTube channel. Many of them. There are those that were blocking me from uploading my videos. They would take hours and hours and hours to share. And so this is going on years now. And so it's not that I'm a bad person. I even remember going to see someone in particular. Until this day, I still wear this beautiful, I feel like it's, when I think of someone who had assisted dying and helping him in a special way, and he went into the light, and I remember channeling a message when everyone else was very taken back by their loss and grieving. And I remember him sending a message saying, "Beam me up, Scotty," which was quite comical. I got shivers. And so I believe those that are going to unite in a beautiful way, as soon as they know full impermanence is a real thing, they'll be saying, "Beam me up, Scotty," and they'll reunite with him. And so there's many beautiful experiences I've recorded and I haven't shared. And that's a being of service, a being of light. Do you think dark forces are trying to get in my way? Absolutely. I'm there trying to take a chorus, and then all of a sudden God edges me out. And then as soon as that happens, I open up and share it with, a few others. I can't remember how many I shared it with, but it was my experience, my story. And it was just my experience. And so realizing that others would come forward and say, "Oh, by the way, this person did this to somebody. This person did this to somebody." And then I'm like, okay, I have to use discernment. I gotta be concerning about this. And when I say just concerning, I don't want to bear judgment. But when you get told that somebody's abusing somebody in a workplace, and you don't even want to look at the picture and who it is, because you're kind of like, if I know who it is, I'll know because I may have met this person, and why wouldn't I have helped and done something to make a difference? So some things are hidden. And so, there's so many experiences. I remember even being edged out of a group and knowing that it correlates, it connects to this class because this person was kicked out as well, but it's their experience and their story to tell. And then I was told, oh, there were others. And so the staff are being played trickery with. The puppeteer master is playing and with people's lives. And when people find out, they are so heartbroken. They feel betrayed because they're like, how can somebody be so genuinely nice, kind, compassionate, loving to me and do that? I'm of love. I can't imagine doing that to people. And so either way, there is a lot going on in the universe right now. This, by the way, is one of my favorite mugs from a lady in BC who's very creative. And there was a table when I went to this retreat full, and I mean full, of different cups of the same sort. This one I gravitated to because I don't know why. I saw what looked like a tea, so I felt like it was for me. But it's so beautiful because look at this path with a heart. Like, isn't that magnificent? I didn't see it at the time. So there's so much to see in this magnificent piece that this woman creates. I hope her husband and her child and her are doing well. And so I find myself drawn to it quite a bit. Even to a point, a subliminal message said, send somebody a message, and so that they can know that you're all right. And you know, that's the thing, like being the mystic Buddhist I am, there are times and situations where you can bear abuse and know that you were not the person who was or were playing trickery on them at that event. And then you get in these situations where you're like, oh, my team, what is it that you're trying to show me here? I've been in situations where I've just sat through the murky waters and didn't move. And it's like this collective, some would say cult, some would say they're linked together, I think they're finding out truth and clarity about one another. And so there was a piece missing, a beautiful woman at the time when that retreat was put on. And that could have changed everything. And so I know there were some odd situations. And I know with my expertise, my abilities, everything from past life regression to hypnotherapy to my master instructor in integrated energy to my Latin Reiki to many things. I mean, shamanism, I can go on, bridging spirits with those that are on the other side. And there's all these courses that I can go through and see all these certificates. Even courses I've taken that don't give certificates. I've learned something from every one of them. And I know on this ascension, it's like I have my own path. This is my own path. I am love. I am light. I am truth. And it flows through me. I know it does. I don't even have to say it. It's like somebody saying, I am kind, I am sweet, I am genuine. The actions speak volumes energetically. And so we know sometimes things may rise in the surface of things. And we may feel like angry. And we know it doesn't serve our highest and greatest good. It's like the love and kindness prayer. May I be free from anger. May I be free from ill will. May I be free from jealousy. May I be free from mental suffering. May I be free from physical suffering. May I live in peace. May I live happily. And then you can continue on and wishing other beings the same thing, no matter where they are. And this speaks of maybe your parents have passed, a loved one. You can still say that prayer for them as well on the other side, because they may be earthbound. They may have crossed over. I mean, there's different views and perspectives of what happens when people cross over. And so I know how I was taught, but I'm starting to realize, and I knew this years and years ago, back in 2019, the teachers will teach. They'll also hold back because they don't want you to know, because you may go out on your own. Now, that doesn't go for everyone. That doesn't go for me. Oh, hallelujah. I'll share with anyone who's willing to receive. That's how I am. It's not like I'm ownership of all of this knowledge base that I've learned. And so there are people, don't get me wrong, they'll go take a course, they'll learn things, they'll start writing things. Some people are just action takers. I mean, I'm a turtle. I'm a little slow, but I'm truth, and I value that even more. And so there are those of us that have worked behind the scenes, that have worked up front, boots on the ground, like somebody had told me this war book, raw and uncut, right? And so me, I'm the biggest supporter you could ever imagine. Some people need the fame for validation for all their work, and they need it. They need to soak it up. It's a need, it's a want, it's an entitlement, which can be really tricky. You have to err caution on that. You know, I see these beautiful parents, and I mean, I've worked with children on a crisis team. I mean, without it breaching, we're talking some serious situations that parents have to deal with that you wouldn't wish upon anybody for a child to experience. And this is beyond suicide, okay? This is beyond sexual abuse. Like, trauma. And then, you know, parents that are dealing with divorces, separations, or the death of a parent, or a death of an animal. Like, we can go on and on and on about grief and loss. And just knowing, I know myself, my tidbit would be, no, they're nestled in your heart. Every experience that you've ever had with those you love that are no longer here, remember they are. They're invisible. But in your heart, in your consciousness, they're not. Because you have all that remembrance, right? Even here, when you have this clear knowing they're around, people have known and have shared where they've laid in bed and they felt like that loved one was laying right next to them. They felt the message that they were talking to them. It's like time doesn't exist. So when people even go through grief and loss, it's like time doesn't exist. So then it gets me on this thing going, wait a second, spirit. Are you bandits that is robbing that human being's life of life experience, feeling the need to stay around them because you're doing these visitations and you know you can go into the light, but you're full of curiosity and you're traveling around and you're trying to help create some stuff for your loved one before you cross over? Err on caution is what I say. I say, don't cheat yourself. Cross into the light. Your consciousness, even if you're evil on this planet, cross into the light. There is light within you. From the time you take a breath, there is light. And when you do cross over, you'll see that beautiful life review from wide perspectives. You'll see how those people have tried to break into your ash check records, like trying to break into your bank, your memory bank, trying to mess with it. And then you'll see, what, Alzheimer's? How could human beings make up such a thing? Of dementia? When people are traveling everywhere? I've had a dementia patient travel to me, and it's like, whoa, okay. Have they passed? Right? And so I know somebody's trying to get me to talk about dreams now, and sometimes you can be dreaming and you wake up and you're half awake, half asleep, right? It's not always in a REM sleep, but depending on where you're at, that too can bring you in big messages from the other side. Now, one thing I know, I had somebody cutting cords for me, deep cord cutting, and their ancestral told me, get connected with the higher selves. I've done that. I had done that years ago with my ex-husband, just to check on him a few times. Because I'll tell you, I know what it's like to be the savior in a certain way, walk in the room and go, Angel, Ariel, I need you now, kind of thing. And I mean, scream at the top of my lungs. And I'd feel this force of strength. And I would go and I would talk my ex out of suicide and from harming others. And so that's my story on my end. And he knows that I was transitioning into something maybe even his higher self wasn't ready for. And so I know I've been in situations before in a crowded room, and I've done this before where I went through my automatic writing and then somebody channels in, and then I'm like, if you may receive, right? And if they do, what's channeled to me for them? I don't always do this on demand because there's not always a worth in it. And I don't mean a regardful intent surrounding that. Boots on the ground, you know your worth. It doesn't even have to be financially. You know your worth because when you're helping someone, they're helping you just as much. As you can see, even in a video, I'm doing readings with another. And so it's gathering together in a way of light and recognizing there's messages guiding us. It's our guides communicating with us. Now, we all know, and most mediums know, we don't need cards. But you know what? They certainly are nice because there's something there that literally gives us a beautiful message. There's different ways to clear your cards. You'll be taught many different ways. You know, I've seen people blowing the cards, their energy, okay? That's for someone else. I've seen people nap. I've seen people do their thing. I've seen, people do some manual things and they open something and say, clink, lens, clear, anything and everything that's upon these cards into the light, please and thank you. And only that of the clearest light may be here and assisting and guiding me right now, please and thank you. You may have selenite. You may have gold obsidian. You may, which can be a really good protector for your cards, with cloth, with silk bags, right? You could have a clear quartz, right? You could have just obsidian. You could pretty much have anything. Some people will put all their stuff in a box and it's sacred, like I did when I went to my one of my last gatherings as a group. For some reason, I had to carry this big, heavy box. I'm like, why am I carrying this big, heavy box? Well, the crystal required it. Okay. And so whatever you're drawn to, it doesn't mean, and then there's people who will draw cards, which I was taught in class, where you energetically run your fingers around and then it just taps. It taps a card that's for the highest and greatest good kind of thing. But energetically, you will feel it takes time to do it that way. I used to do, I'm going to put this card down for a moment. I'm not sure why, but I'll put it down. I used to do energetically, I would say Orion, or I would call different guides in. Pardon me. This one just popped out as another way for people to do cards. It just energetically, you shuffle, 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 shuffle. The energy is going through it. So it's almost like here they are, they're conduit. Could be their medicine woman. It could be, some people have higher selves. Be very cautious. If you're hearing your higher self, get into some writing. If you see that it's not to be true and there's a something in there and you're like, no, I don't resonate with what is being told, that could be somebody trying to hijack and pretend to be your higher self, and it is not your higher self that's channeling through you, okay? So caution on that as well. There's different ways to protect yourself, okay? And, okay. I just asked that two guides come in, my door opens, it closes, and now it's like a little meeting energetically that's with me to pick this third card. And so, synchronicity and everything, what did I do? I read this earlier. Divine Master within, the voice of my inner teacher, I call on you now. Awaken and activate. I am willing to remember you, and so it is. 3 is a very important number to me. The Lemurians. Clairvoyance activated. There's a lot of people that are awakening at this time to clairvoyance. Now, I have to tell you something very, very important about this. There's people ending up in the psychiatric wards, heavily medicated. They get off of it because they know the SSRs, what's happening is people are becoming suicidal. They're not them, they're not themselves. And when they're in that vulnerability, there is the dark force that comes in and tries to hijack them. rob them from their experience. They're like bandits of time. They gather amazing information from these people. I know even myself, I had wrote this beautiful poem, and this warlock wanted me to read the poem, but Spirit was like, no, you're going to keep that sacred, because he would have shared it as his own. I got yes, no. So I don't know for sure, but either way, that's what's coming out. So psychic awareness, sensitivity, trust your intuition. And so it's like they talk three brains. Intuition, intuition, intuition. Seriously, for balance, know it to be true, no matter what. Know it to be true. So there's those of us that will get something, it'll be like a beautiful light. Like when you're around certain people that are of light, your light will shine through as well. And I'm not talking about these energy vampires on a whole different level. I have been in a monastery around someone and someone saying, oh, that person's the one that's hijacking your clairvoyance. And I would see something really pure in my mind. I'm like, whoa. I've been in other places where I saw something very clear in my mind. So I know, despite the darkness and how darkness can come in and hijack people, and I've seen it where the transfiguration happens in the face, and you can tell something is love and light. Like I remember telling this warlock, because I'm not going to use his name, and there's many warlocks in the world, so good and bad. And I remember saying, you don't look like you or yourself, because he was a calm. He was almost like beautiful. Most times I got to know he's very abusive, but something where someone was trying to come in and help him. I still think that's spiritual laws and not ethical. It could be somebody game playing and say, oh, wow, that's so cool. I remember there was a time back when I got a ping and somebody invasive opened me to, let's say, the underworld and darkness and crap that I just didn't want to be a part of. So underworld definition can vary amongst many, 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 many people. So don't take my experience and the way I may see it as literal, okay? Because we're all learning. We're all beings of the light. We come on this planet to live a life experience. However, some get ajarred, discomplacent, discombobulated. They can end up saying too much and not realizing that can be overwhelming for someone to receive, and then go, holy shit, I gotta run the other way because I don't understand any of this stuff this person's talking about. And it's nothing wrong with what they're coming forward with. They're quite brilliant minds. And so just let it be as it may, and enjoy the presence around the people you're around. Now, if you're getting that they haven't found their truth yet, and they may be lying, they may have an opportunity to correct themselves and say, you know what? I know I just went on this about this, but I'm getting my guides now standing me correctly in a balanced way to tell me, I'm so sorry. This I know now is what happened. But some people might not do that in a group environment. They may learn of it later, after the fact, and then they have doors of opportunity to take, or they close them, and then they're like, yeah, that could ruin my reputation. I'm not going to dare tell anyone. I'll deal with that when I'm in full impermanence. And you can't escape from it because people find out. And so that's the thing about having these abilities and these gifts. If you were to awaken to the awakening, know and know and know and know, the more you know, you realize you don't know, but then you know, and then you're like, I really don't want to know this, because that means action, and that's a year of action. I'm getting, there's a lot of people that are trying to do initiation, and in all fairness of them, we can look at it two different ways. We can look at it like the programming of initiation, where there is a dark force, and the dark forces could be a collection of good people bringing dark forces down, at the same time not knowing full truth, not understanding the truth. And then there are those that are dark, that are hiding, and they could be causing pain and suffering and ill regard, um, being consciously aware of it. And I'm just like, I even know myself last night when I was automatically writing. It was like I wasn't me or myself at times. I was like, really, like, let's get real here. Like, truth. I know what happened. I know what happened at the monastery. I know I was there. I remember an incident. And I hear Spirit go, here we go. I remember an incident where Spirit was playing trickery with my mind so much that I went into the insurance company to go pay for my insurance and my license and do all this stuff. And for some reason, the insurance company needed a check for automatic withdrawals. And I could have had it done on my credit card. Anyway, at the time, I think they said I couldn't, but something happened, and it could have been trickery puppeteered with the person behind the counter, because it happens to people in the workplace, placement for sure. And then what happened, it was like it waked my mind that I wasn't to remember. So I remember getting pulled over by a police officer, and he said, your insurance is null and void. I'm like, what? Like, how is that possible? I said, I'm on my way to the monastery for a session. Like, I don't know how this is possible. And so I had been blocked. I was just like this normal human being, even asking him for help, because I'm like, I'm telepathic and channeling, and I can hear. And this guy, this cop, he was sitting there, and it was like the bandits of time were trying to rob him. So he was there. He wrote me not one, but 2 tickets of the same thing. This guy comes out of this hotel where I was pulled over, and he was like, call these people. And I think he gave me a card. I don't know where, or no, he told me. He said, call this phone number. He said, these guys are playing trickery. And he said something. I'm just like, what's going on? It's like the Twilight Zone. I was just at a point where I'm like, okay, thank you. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm dealing with the shock factor that I was pulled over by a police officer, and I had to go to the monastery because I was late for my session. I show up at the monastery, and I'm late, and the nun at St. Benedict Monastery left. And I could see her driving out, and I thought, okay, well, I'll just wait. So she was being played trickery, and I know she played trickery with me in the universe because I know her voice very well. And so I was at the monastery, and I was sitting inside, and I was looking at the Bible, and I was reading some verses, and it was beautiful. It was like St. Benedict was reading it with me, and the nuns that were before impermanence occurred and buried out in the graveyard. So they were reading, and I believe somebody else in the monastery was reading as well, was catching on that, oh, here's Spirit, we're going to read the Bible with one another. And so this lady came up to me, this angelical nun, it's beautiful. And I explained to her why I was there. I dropped off some plants, I believe, or maybe that was after. Either way, I was there. And I was the type, I would take all my magazines like McLean and Time or whatever I had, and I would donate a big bundle to them, give them plants. And I know they needed monetary value. Don't get me wrong. I remember one time calling them and I found out that the monastery was sold, and I was just like, I would like to be a part of buying it, and doing what I could with getting a loan from the bank, whatever it took. Either way, I remember that this nun invited me for lunch, and I thought, oh, how lovely. So she walks into the room. This lady, I look over, another nun, she looks disgruntled, like she looked like the kind of nun you don't want to approach, because she looked discombatant and just, anyway, she just was on the phone in a panic, and all of a sudden the other nun walks in that I know. And she walks up to me and basically uninvites me for lunch. I was like, whoa. And I seen her again one more time, and she had a healing table in her room. And then I realized, and Spirit told me, one of the women that betrayed me so bad, the one I talked about with the healing and the big gaping hole in my side and the puking and peeing and others have bowel movements and stuff. This woman thought I was possessed, and I wasn't. It was her that was possessed. And playing these trickery games with people's lives. And protesting to the fact that she was Jesus Christ's daughter. And whether she is or not, I mean, it's not my story. I just know that my story is to share with you that same person lies, deceit, told of other people's personal stuff that was like, you know, so-and-so, this person is this. You know, so-and-so, this person is this. So I know she did the same thing to me, had a jaded perspective of what really went on, and was part of puppeteering. It wasn't just one puppeteer master. She was part of the puppeteering of the separation of 27.5 years with my husband. Due to her jealousy, due to being almost like part of a gang mentality, I'm not sure. I'm sharing this with you to air caution. Use your discernment. You may think you know somebody, and they're not really sharing the truth with you down to the core. Now, don't get me wrong. My ex would have called her and reamed her out. I know that because I didn't get my phone back, but I had to get a new phone after this tremendous separation. Like, it was horrible. Where for a long time I was in a wheelchair. I have a picture of me in my home in it. And then I started walking around on my heels to get around. There was a time where I had no one to help me even have a bath or a shower. It's kind of hard when you're out of commission and both feet. I had surgery on them. It was really bad. I lost my dog that night. Like, we're talking real evil, dark spirits. Now, these dark spirits were downwinded on me by those who play trickery and gameplay. And I feel there's someone in England that he may have downwinded or was a part of it or tried to rescue me from it. I'm not sure. Clarity will prevail. But I do know there are women that are in the place I live that have done evil things under false pretenses, knowing what they think they know is truth, and it's not. And so err in caution on who you associate with. If they're love and light and they treat you with respect, of course, you'll want to be around them. If they're belittling you and telling you certain things, then you're going to want to separate yourself from that. If they are assuming things, I've had this happen before too, where I remember when I first started entering the church, I know somebody asked or traveled, or the Viewmaster reel, however you want to put it, was opened up, and this person was using clairaudience and was accessing that person, the Reverend, and was telling him, in a way, what they thought to be true. See, all these Reverends have dirty secrets. We know that to be true. They have their image they have these things. I pray there's at least one or two that are not. But they have the title to have that prestige. And you know, you can have prestige taken away from you in a heartbeat. You know, I know what it's like for working front line and trickery playing and going, what the heck's going on? I'm led to one place, led to another. This shit's going on. And I'm like, whoa, what? Somebody didn't, what? How many calls? How many, was it? 54 or more lines missed in the crisis lines? And I just came back from a call, and here I am going with my partner. Okay, I'm going to hop onto the crisis lines and help them out. It's like, holy shit. And then myself walking away from my job because of my boss, and then my boss being shocked by what I shared. But a collective of girls got together to cover one girl's ass. And so my boss found out, and then the second meeting I said, I wasn't even cruel or mean. My old partner knows that to be true. He was there. I was just like looking at the person going, you missed how many calls? And then I'm like, I'm going to the bathroom. I'm going to help up front on the crisis lines. And that's what I did. I wasn't disrespectful to her. I wasn't abusive to her. My boss, now all of a sudden there's this girl that had been in competition with me, and I was just like, I can't be in competition with this girl because I got the job on mobile and she didn't. And then she got a job later in a different role. And so, you know, you just get three people together, and then you get a fourth, and then you get all perspective, and then you get trickery of spirit playing with you. And then all of a sudden this shit happens. I was gotted out. Thank God. Thank you, thank you, thank you. In the name of love, I'm better off. Especially when I hear what goes on now. I'm like, no, thank you. Even though I specialize in addictions and community service work, and I'm damn good at it, I'm just like, no, thank you. And so I remember saying to my boss, until I can trust you, I'm not coming back. And I walked out those doors, and I'll tell you, there was something that lifted off of me that I can't even describe in words. Can't even describe in words. Anyway, I'm not going to get into all those particular details because, oh my gosh, that's just my experience. And I'll tell you, it came up earlier today, and I'll leave this with you with this, was that you can have you can have no, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm just going to go ahead with the other cards. Look at that. We're all having a spiritual awakening. Now, some people that have been doing this since childhood, even if you were 2, trust me, spirit's been messing with me since a kid. I know that for a fact. Even to a point where a teacher crossed the line with my Ashdeck records, not asking for permission, accessing another, and getting that information. It was to a point I didn't want to get up and go get a picture. And I don't know why I didn't just say no. But there's a reason for it, and I don't know. Somebody invaded my privacy when I was 11 years old, and I was masturbating. And the flash of the remembrance of that came back, and I know the spirit was involved. Dark spirit, shit that goes on. And my teacher at the time knew it. And she didn't know what to do about it. It's disgusting. It is disgusting. Own up to it. As hard as it may be, own up to it. So these people are awakening still. Those that have been at this 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. Own up to it. Be truth. You know what? Well, you guys were all, let me speak to you for a moment. I saw this flash and this is what I seen. Is that what you seen? Are you okay? Or even probe. Now, I didn't go home and hang myself. People are dying by suicide because they're awakening. And there's disturbing things that are coming forward. These people, some people are full of greed and they cross the line. They spiritually cross the line. And this can go for any faith. Any faith. This can be any faith. And they cross the line. If you're holding a class of any sort and you see that somebody, and I know I've been there in an O group, in an environment where one guy, everyone as a collective was asked to report. And one guy had lost his comrade to suicide. And was taken by suicide. And he himself was suicidal. Not one, but 2 therapists were in the room. Neither one of them knew crisis intervention and had been running the program for quite a while. I was a catalyst to create change at the Operational Stress Injury Clinic. It was me. I stood up. I ran after him. I contracted with him. I came back and I said, what the fuck is wrong with all of you? And I let out what I thought. I told someone else who created change, and now they have a plan in place. Don't get me wrong, some people can get formed unfairly. I know from working crisis intervention, there are people that are suicidal on a regular basis. It doesn't mean they're going to complete suicide. It's crazy, isn't it? Know that to be true. Doesn't mean they deserve to be formed. So there are people, back to that conversation I was having earlier, that are in hospitals that feel like they're in prison. And there are all walks of life. I even remember, I know what it's like for somebody to be formed, where I'm with my partner and we're bringing them to a hospital. Most go willingly and want to go. Some don't. So you need to really check into this and query. There's unfortunately quite a few doctors that are on a 3D paradigm that do not know or understand what's going on. So when they say erase the stigma, they're not erasing the stigma. They're not. They are not. It's going to be crumbling down. Wait, you'll see. People are going to get to tell their story and speak freely about it. I know myself. I have lots of experience. I know what it's like to battle when I end up in the hospital with surgery and all that had happened. And we're talking dark forces came in, crazy shit, most people would say. You had a psychosis because you were on medical marijuana. And when you have spirit messing with you, so you're not compliant with your medical marijuana and different things happening, to me, those are like gang affiliated that are in the universe. And these are human beings. There are even human beings trapped in their body that are playing games. Some are good, some are not good. They have a choice. They're tested by spirit. I remember the phone call I got. I finally got home and I was so relieved, even being in a wheelchair. I remember looking at my socks, that I had these big, ugly yellow socks, and I'm like, happy thought socks. I know I have to get on that campaign again in a different way. Make it big. Maybe the government will help fund me. I was in the paper because of it. And I remember being a little upset because the paper, she did a good job, but she didn't put like, hello, I'm a friggin' medium. I'm a qualified medium. Dark spirits can friggin' mess with you. And so it being though, I remember the psychiatrist that called me. And we talked about JFK. We talked about his sister who was incarcerated, is how I look at it. Put in a mental institution. She had premonitions and things of the sort. And she was kept as a dirty secret. The amount of visitations I had after that. I went off my medications and it was hard. At the same time, I know for me, if I was on any SSR type of medication, 100%, it would drive me insane. I would be suicidal. I would find a way to take my life. Because spirit is very different. They play with you in ways you cannot even begin to imagine. Now, don't get me wrong. This doesn't go for everyone. Some people will see it as a saving grace. And so be it. That is your life plan. That is your sanction. That is your whatever it may be. And so be it. It's meant to be. Keep in mind. And to each his own. If you want to be on medical marijuana, be on medical marijuana. I believe that's a part of the reason why I was psychically attacked and belittled and everything else. Because when I first got in the spiritual community, I didn't talk about working mental health. I didn't talk about certain things. I remember sitting in class and hearing Spirit say to the teacher, she's been enlightened. And the teacher cried, never said a word to me. She knew. I sat in the class as an enlightened being. And when I sat in that class to be a enlightened being, after that, I was gaslighted like crazy. You wouldn't believe the shit that I went through. Unbelievable. Like, Dark Night of the Soul, you know what it's like? Try this one on for size in so many words. Yeah, go figure, right? What's reality? What's an illusion? It's insane. Some of these people are going through torturous experiences. And it's all because of a collective in the universe that get to decide because they're tricked in what they're told. It's like I was saying back when I was at the church and when I first started. And when people get invited in, they can cause havoc, harm. I remember this nice lady giving me the evil eye. And I'm like, Spirit, I haven't done anything wrong. Now, don't get me wrong. The night before, I thought I heard somebody say something to her about me. But I'm not there to defend myself in the universe. Ascending Master Jesus told me a long time ago, you have nothing to prove. And it's true. I am of light. I am of love. I am of truth. The only one I have anything to prove to is myself. And so I was going to be done. However, I almost want to cry. The very first card chosen. When I opened the door, one of them came through. And the sacred connection. I know I'm here as a support. I know that I have reached completion in my life, experiences, and had crossed over. I know what it's like to flatline and have a room full of military personnel cheering when I survived it. It sounds strange, but they're my relations. Synchronicity, divine connection, understand lessons. They're helping me in greater ways you can ever imagine. Through the Dharma teachings, which, being Christ conscious in a way of virtues, in a way of not falling into the rabbit hole, making decisions with my heart. There are those out there that are suffering. Please don't talk ill regard or ill intent about them. You're not in their shoes. You're not living their life experience. If they need help, then of course. There are people that are alone on the journey. I know what it's like to be isolated, away from my family, losing everything. Being one of those people that was in the 20 percentile with my ex. No debt. Still being of service, being wonderful, being giving, being kind, being compassionate. I was full of wealth here and financially. And then bared the beautiful lesson of what it's like to be selfless while my ex was selfish. I'm not wanting to talk ill regard, ill intent, because he didn't know what it was he was doing. He didn't. He really didn't. It was about entitlement. He wasn't thinking clearly. He was being masquerade, puppeteered. Even where I, myself, when I reflect back, oh my. I even think about a situation where I was guided by spirit to a video and I'm like, that just did not happen in a big group setting with a bunch of people and nobody stood up for that man and said something. And then later found out he died by suicide and how that can weigh on someone's consciousness. Because that spirit came through me and I'm like, whoa. And the next thing you know, I'm just like, my consciousness and my ethics. And at the same time, sorry, spirit, building healthy boundaries. And so I'm not about fame and fortune. I'm about being genuine, being loving, being caring, asking the Lady of Mercy to come forward and be for those that are in need at this time, that want to face their truth, that really want to listen, down deep, listen, not only to the people that are talking in front of you, but to yourself. It's like that cognitive behavioral therapy acronym, STOP, S-T-O-P. Stop, take a step back, observe, and process before you react. How many of us are like, shake our head on that one? Right? I know I'm guilty of it. And so as things unfold, I have faith in the angels. I remember being in a classroom environment where others didn't. I have faith in ways that others have no idea about. It's a whole different world. I bet you there's even an umbrella being created for that. And I know that there's a whole collective of people gathering around, and there are some of us that have done magnificent things all on our own. Maybe I get that a bit Buddha in a way so differently than the way it's taught. In the way it's taught. Especially when it's your vessel that's being personally affected. And so, lo and behold, you know, at my church, they always say, well, we'll leave you with that. I'll leave you with love. And just know, I place out many merits to my divine team. So if you're ever in a divine situation, then shine. Shine, shine, shine. Expand your light, shine. And if you're not, that's okay too. Sometimes you have to stand in the thickness of it. It's like being in a playground, being bullied by kids, and a whole bunch of people are watching. And this has happened to me more than once. Be elegance, be grace. Yeah, be elegance, be grace. Because you never know what's going on with the other person. And everyone deserves a second chance and forgiveness. I just know in one situation I was standing there and I was told that I had 3 guides and there were thousands of attachments surrounding me. And I remember just not taking this in and asking angels, where are you? And then I knew my Lightarian Reiki had to come in. But beyond what is taught through Lightarian Reiki, the next thing I knew, I had these walls come up that needed to be created for protection. I looked at the person, I bowed down to them, and I said, thank you. I turned around, I walked away, I took my coat off the chair, and out the door I went. So sometimes you may be in a situation where you're not comfortable with what you're receiving. And you may even say, no, thank you. Let that person own what it is. If they are being cruel to you, it could be the spirit of not of light transitioned through them, or spirits. I can see why now some mediums end up dying. Yeah. This is bringing me strength right now. This is bringing me love right now. And this is bringing me support right now by sharing with you. May it do the same for you as well. In the name of love.